It was the third night in a row that Bimbo heard it. The cry started faint, barely audible over the hum of the harmattan wind that swept through the boarding school compound. It was a soft, pitiful wail, like a baby calling for its mother. Bimbo lay frozen on her bunk, clutching her blanket tightly. Her heart pounded as she strained her ears to listen. It was coming from outside, near the school's abandoned well. Her dorm mates had warned her, "If you hear the cry, ignore it." Chioma the head girl had said, her voice firm and low. "Do not look out the window. Do not answer. The bush baby doesn't forgive curiosity." But Bimbo was curious. For 3 nights, the cry haunted her. It began just past midnight, growing louder, then fading as dawn approached. Tonight, she couldn't ignore it. She slipped out of her bunk, careful not to wake the others, and crept to the window. The moon cast eerie shadows over the compound, but everything seemed still. Then she saw it, a tiny figure crouched by the well, barely visible in the dim light. It looked like a child, no older than 3, wrapped in tattered clothes. Its shoulders shook with each sob. "Help me!" The faint voice reached her ears. Bimbo's breath caught in her throat. It was just a child, lost and alone. What harm could there be in helping? She glanced back at the dormitory where her friends lay sleeping, then slipped on her slippers and tiptoed out of the door. The night was colder than she expected, and the wind howled like a warning. Bimbo hugged her arms to herself as she approached the well. The child's cries grew softer as she drew nearer, as if it sensed her presence. "Hello," Bimbo called, her voice trembling. "Are you okay? Where are your parents?" The child didn't respond. It sat still, its back to her. She hesitated, suddenly unsure. Something about this figure felt wrong. Its tiny frame seemed hunched in an unnatural way, and its sobs were too rhythmic, almost mechanical. She took a step closer. "Do you need help?" she asked again, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure turned slowly. Bimbo gasped and stumbled backward. The face that looked up at her was not that of a child. Its eyes were enormous, glowing like twin orbs of fire. Its mouth stretched into a grotesque grin, revealing rows of jagged teeth. The cry stopped abruptly, replaced by a low, guttural laugh. "Thank you for coming," it said, its voice echoing unnaturally. Bimbo screamed and turned to run, her slippers slapping against the hard ground. Behind her, the creature rose to its feet, its small body shifting and elongating into something monstrous. Its laughter echoed across the compound, chilling her to the bone. She raced towards the dormitory, her lungs burning with effort. The creature's footsteps were light but unevenly fast, closing the distance between them. She dared not look back. As she approached the dormitory door, she fumbled with the handle, her fingers trembling. The laughter was right behind her now, impossibly close. With a final burst of strength, she shoved the door open and slammed it shut behind her. The laughter stopped. Panting, she pressed her ear to the door, listening. The compound was silent again, as if nothing had happened. But she knew better. The bush baby was out there, waiting. The next morning, Bimbo woke to whispers in the dormitory. Her friends surrounded her, their faces pale. "You went outside," Chioma said, her voice shaking. It wasn't a question. Bimbo nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "I saw it," she whispered. The dormitory erupted into gasps. Chioma stepped back, her face grim. "You've been marked," she said. "It will come for you again." From that day, Bimbo was never the same. She became withdrawn, her eyes darting nervously at every shadow. At night, the cries returned, louder and more insistent. No one else heard them. One fateful night, Bimbo disappeared. Her bed was empty, her belongings untouched. The dormitory girls whispered that the bush baby had finally claimed her. And then the cries started again, this time coming from Bimbo's bunk. The dormitory was quieter than usual after Bimbo's disappearance. Her bunk remained untouched, the mattress perfectly made as if waiting for her return. The school administration dismissed her absence as a runaway case, but the girls in the dorm knew the truth. The bush baby had taken her. Chioma, the head girl, took charge, warning everyone never to leave the dormitory after dark. They sealed the windows with curtains and left the light on at all times, but none of it stopped the new cries. It started the night after Bimbo vanished. Soft, pitiful wails echoed through the dormitory at midnight. It wasn't outside this time. It came from within, from Bimbo's bunk. The girls huddled together, terrified as the sobs grew louder, more desperate. "Help me," the voice whispered, unmistakably Bimbo's. Chioma, the bravest among them, approached the bunk cautiously. The others begged her to stay away, but she refused to let fear control her. Pulling back the curtain that hung over Bimbo's bed, Chioma gasped. The bunk was empty, but the crying persisted, louder and sharper now, as if it were right next to her. Chioma felt a cold breath on her neck. Turning slowly, she came face to face with something she would never forget. It was Bimbo, or what was left of her. Her eyes glowed with the same fiery light as the bush baby's. Her mouth twisted into a mournful smile. "Help me," Bimbo whispered again, reaching out with translucent fingers. Chioma screamed, stumbling back into the other girls. They all saw it now, the ghostly figure of their missing friend. Her cries filling the room. One by one, the girls fled the dormitory, their screams echoing through the compound. Long before Bimbo's encounter, the tale of the bush baby began in a small village nestled deep in the forest of southeastern Nigeria. The villagers revered a sacred well at the heart of their land, believing it to be a portal to the spirit world. For centuries, it was said that the well granted fertility to women who prayed at its edge. But such blessings always came with a cost. One fateful year, a childless woman named Adako visited the well. She had been ostracized by her in-laws for her inability to bear children and was desperate for a child. Kneeling at the well, she wept and begged the spirits for a baby. The wind whispered around her, and the water in the well glowed faintly. A voice emerged from the depths. "We will grant you your wish, but you must promise to dedicate your child to us by the age of 3. Fail and your bloodline will suffer." Desperate, Adako agreed without hesitation. Months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy with large luminous eyes. She named him Anyoma. The villagers were in awe of the miracle child. But as Anyoma approached his 3rd birthday, Adako grew hesitant. She couldn't bear the thought of giving up her son. When the spirits came to claim Anyoma, Adako refused. Enraged by her defiance, they cursed the boy. He transformed into a spectral creature, neither living nor dead, doomed to roam the earth as the bush baby. His cries will forever echo with the sorrow of betrayal, luring the compassionate and the curious to their doom. Unbeknownst to Bimbo, her bloodline traced back to Adako. The curse of the bush baby had lingered in her family for generations, waiting for an opportunity to strike again. When Bimbo was born, her grandmother had performed protective rituals to shield her, but those rituals had been long forgotten by the time she entered boarding school. The abandoned well on the school grounds was no ordinary well. It was the same sacred well where Adako had made her fateful bargain. The spirits of the bush baby were drawn to Bimbo, their rightful prey. After her disappearance, Bimbo woke up in a strange place. The air was thick and cold, and the ground felt soft and spongy beneath her feet. She was in the spirit realm, a place between life and death. Around her, other figures emerged, children with glowing eyes and sorrowful faces. They were all victims of the bush baby. "Where am I?" Bimbo asked, her voice trembling. "You are where the lost souls reside," a small boy replied. "You heard the cry, and now you belong to the spirits." Bimbo refused to accept her fate. She wandered the realm, searching for a way out. Days turned into weeks, though time felt meaningless in the spirit world. Eventually, she stumbled upon a towering tree with roots that stretched into the sky. At its base sat an old woman with a glowing staff. "Who are you?" Bimbo asked. "I am Noma, the keeper of the pact," the woman replied. "It was my duty to warn your ancestor, but she defied the spirits. Now you pay the price." "Please," Bimbo begged, "let me go. I don't belong here." The old woman studied her for a long moment. "Perhaps," she said, "but to live you must break the curse. It is bound to the well and to the bloodline. Destroy the source and you will free yourself and the others." In the waking world, Chioma and the other girls decided to confront the haunting. With the help of a local spiritualist, they learned about the well's cursed history. The spiritualist warned them that they would need courage, for the spirits will not release Bimbo willingly. One moonless night, the girls gathered at the abandoned well, carrying charms and burning sage. The spiritualist began a ritual, chanting in a language none of them understood. The wind howled, and the earth trembled as the well began to glow faintly. From its depths, the cries of the bush baby grew louder, joined by Bimbo's voice. The spectral figure of the bush baby emerged, its glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. It attacked, its small frame moving with unnatural speed, but the spiritualist stood firm, her chants growing louder. With a final shout, she threw a calabash of sacred water into the well. The light erupted, blinding everyone. When the dust settled, the bush baby was gone and the cries had ceased. Bimbo awoke on the ground near the well, gasping for air. She was alive, but her eyes held a distant, haunted look. The spiritualist explained that while the curse was broken, Bimbo would forever carry the memories of the spirit realm. The school's dormitory was blessed, and the well was sealed with sacred markings to prevent any future hauntings. The girls returned to their normal lives, but they would never forget what they had faced. As for Bimbo, she left the school soon after, determined to uncover more about her family's past. She vowed to ensure no one else would suffer the fate of the bush baby. And though the cries were never heard again, locals still avoided the area, whispering that some curses never truly die. The school eventually shut down the dormitory, leaving it to decay. The building became overrun with weeds, its windows shattered by the winds. Years later, travelers passing by the abandoned school claimed to hear faint sobs carried by the wind. Some said it sounded like a baby. Others swore it was a teenage girl begging for help, but no one ever went close enough to find out.